The captain left Jackie Lee's donut shop carrying far more weight than the small white donut box tucked underneath his arm. As Jackie continued helping customers, her mind drifted toward old memories involving her late husband and the captain. For years, the shop had quietly become a second home for exhausted officers, detectives, and patrolmen carrying heavy cases on their backs. Reeves had been one of the few officers her husband genuinely loved having around, because despite the darkness attached to police work, the captain still knew how to laugh. Even now, years after her husband's death, hearing Reeves repeat one of his old jokes had briefly brought that warmth back into the building. But Reeves himself carried no warmth as he climbed back into the brown sedan. The prison visit had unsettled him more than he wanted to admit. Dunn's requests replayed repeatedly inside his head while the city passed outside his windshield. 5 visits. Debbie. The locker. The case files. Every request felt less like a negotiation and more like someone slowly reopening old wounds. Reeves spent years trying to bury underneath retirement and distance. The captain gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary while driving toward Debbie's neighborhood. It didn't take long before he pulled alongside the curb near her house. The neighborhood itself looked quiet, but Reeves had worked enough years as a police officer to know silence often meant nothing. Curtains shifted behind windows. People watched without appearing to watch. Even now, after retirement, instinct forced his eyes to study parked vehicles, unfamiliar faces, and movement near porches before stepping out. The captain climbed from the sedan, adjusted his jacket, and slowly walked toward Debbie's porch. Seconds later, the front door opened. Joshua stood there. The captain immediately noticed how tired the young man looked. His eyes carried the kind of exhaustion sleep could not fix. Reeves had seen that look before on victims, witnesses, officers, addicts, grieving parents, and sometimes even himself after difficult cases. Before Reeves could say anything, the smell hit him. Fresh biscuits, sausage gravy, bacon grease, real food. For the first time all morning, the captain realized how hungry he actually was. By the time breakfast ended and dishes began clattering inside the kitchen sink, Reeves carried his coffee cup into the living room and lowered himself carefully onto the couch. His body ached more these days, especially after long drives and stressful conversations. Joshua quietly followed behind, carrying the captain's coffee refill. Reeves accepted the mug with a nod. As Joshua started walking away, the captain spoke. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Joshua immediately froze slightly. Not dramatically, just enough for Reeves to notice. The young man slowly turned his head toward the kitchen to see if Debbie was nearby. Through the doorway, he could hear dish rinsing beneath running water. Nervously, Joshua answered, "Yes." Reeves shifted farther toward the left side of the couch, creating space beside him. Joshua attempted sitting farther away at first, but Reeves adjusted again until the message became obvious. "Sit here." Reluctantly, Joshua sat down nearby. For several seconds, Reeves simply studied him quietly. Joshua stared toward the floor. Finally, the captain spoke. "I'm not saying those 2 men who came looking for you are connected to the Valentine case." The captain paused carefully. "But were you involved in anything before showing back up here?" The room instantly changed. Not loudly, emotionally. Joshua's face tightened slightly. At that exact moment, Debbie stepped from the dining room carrying another stack of dishes. The second she heard the question, her entire expression changed. She quickly entered the living room. "I need to speak with you." Reeves kept his eyes on Joshua. "Give me a minute." Debbie's tone sharpened immediately. "Now." The captain slowly stood and instantly realized he had crossed into dangerous territory. Not dangerous physically. Emotionally. Reeves followed Debbie into the dining room while Joshua remained frozen on the couch listening carefully. The second the captain stepped close enough, Debbie grabbed the front of his shirt and pulled him nearer. "What kind of question was that?" she whispered angrily. "You're treating him like he's a suspect." Reeves lowered his voice immediately. "I'm treating him like I would anybody being questioned." Before Debbie could respond, the captain looked directly into her eyes and realized something important. This was no longer simply about the case for her. She was emotionally attached now, and that complicated everything. Reeves stepped backward slightly. "I got somewhere to be," he muttered quietly. "I'll talk to you later." The captain kissed Debbie gently on the jaw before walking back into the living room and slipping on his jacket. Joshua watched silently from near the window while Reeves stepped off the porch. Halfway toward the car, the captain suddenly turned around. Joshua was still standing there watching him. For a second, neither moved. Then Joshua quickly glanced behind himself, checking whether Debbie remained nearby. When he realized she was gone, he lifted one finger toward Reeves. Wait, the captain immediately understood. Instead of leaving, Reeves climbed into the sedan and waited quietly. Inside the house, Joshua hesitated near the door, listening carefully. From deeper inside the home, Debbie softly hummed musical notes while washing dishes. That humming reassured him. Slowly, Joshua opened the front door, slipped outside, and quietly closed it behind him. Then, suddenly, he moved fast. Joshua jumped from the porch and hurried toward the brown sedan with the nervous energy of somebody afraid of being caught. The movement immediately attracted attention. Across the street, Ursula looked up from watering plants and watched suspiciously. Joshua reached for the passenger door handle. Locked. He knocked lightly on the window. Reeves lowered it halfway. "Backseat," the captain muttered. "Front door's jammed." Joshua's expression immediately changed. "I don't do backseats." Reeves frowned slightly. "What?" Joshua stepped backward from the car. "The last car I was in," he said quietly, "the doors wouldn't open because of child locks." The statement landed heavily. For the first time, Reeves realized the fear was genuine. Without another word, the captain climbed from the front seat and opened the rear door himself before sitting beside Joshua in the back. Joshua entered cautiously while keeping the door cracked slightly open. Even seated inside, he still wanted an escape route. For several moments, neither spoke. Then finally, Joshua answered the captain's earlier question. "I don't think I did anything illegal." Reeves remained quiet, allowing him to continue. "Before I came here, I was part of a tagging crew. We spray-painted old buildings." "How'd you get connected with them?" Joshua rubbed his hands together nervously before answering. "I was sleeping in hospitals. One guy liked my artwork and offered me somewhere to stay." The captain listened carefully. "At first, I didn't trust him," Joshua continued, "but I looked at my situation and eventually said yes." Joshua explained how several young people shared mattresses inside abandoned locations, while a mysterious man delivered bags of food and artwork assignments every day. Nobody asked many questions because survival mattered more than curiosity. "At first, everything seemed fine," Joshua admitted. "Then eventually people started disappearing." Reeves slowly turned toward him. "What do you mean disappearing?" Joshua lowered his voice. "There was another kid there before me. Nervous type. Asked too many questions. And one day he was gone." The captain's expression hardened slightly. "What kind of questions was he asking?" Joshua stared through the windshield, remembering. He wanted to know why certain buildings mattered. Joshua explained how every Monday crews received nearly identical instructions involving strange murals painted across different buildings throughout the city. One of the assignments always involved a brontosaurus eating the head off a dragon. Reeves immediately looked toward him. "What church?" Joshua nodded slowly. "The one near Chesterfield and Greenacre." The captain knew the location instantly. That church had been tagged repeatedly for years. Always painted over. Always returning. Reeves suddenly realized something that made his stomach tighten. Maybe the graffiti itself was never random. Joshua continued quietly. "The colors mattered too." "What do you mean?" "One time I changed the colors because I thought it looked better." Joshua laughed nervously. "I didn't eat for 7 days." The captain stared silently. Now the entire thing sounded less like random vandalism and more like coded instructions, or territory markings, or communication. Joshua leaned back against the seat, exhausted. "I only became leader because people kept disappearing or fighting." The captain studied him carefully. For the first time, Reeves no longer saw a runaway kid. He saw someone who may have accidentally wandered into something dangerous without realizing it. Finally, Reeves nodded slowly. "Thank you." Joshua immediately stepped from the vehicle once he noticed Reeves opening his own door. The young man hurried back toward the porch, while the captain slowly pulled away from the curb. Inside the house, Joshua quietly entered through the front door and froze. Debbie stood waiting, her arms folded tightly. "I thought thought you left because of the questioning, she said softly. Joshua avoided eye contact. I just needed fresh air. Debbie stared at him for several long seconds. Then suddenly, knock, knock, knock. The sound instantly shattered the room's fragile calm. Joshua's entire body tensed. The nervousness returned immediately. Debbie saw it happen in real time. The shaking hands, the widened eyes, the fear. Without hesitation, she grabbed his arm gently. Go sit in my room.